Hello, welcome to another episode of Limitless Show, a show that inspires and equips you to live your life to the fullest without any limits. On our today's episode, we'll be speaking to Susan Wairimu Meta. She is a phenomenal lady who, despite her HIV positive background, has vowed to live her life fearlessly, confidently, without any limits. And we want to get to know her story and what we can learn from her. Karibu sana, Susan.
Asante sana.
We are so glad that you could join us today.
Thank you for availing the platform.
Karibu sana. So I met you at a friend's office.
Sure.
And just within a few minutes of chatting, I got to, you got to disclose your status. And I sat there and I wondered, who is this confident lady? Freely talking about her status, sharing it. So what makes you do that?
Well, given the fact that I'm an activist and an advocate of rights of people living with HIV, meaning that I talk about matters of HIV in public. So now that I'm used to talk about it, it's never like such a big deal. So I just I tell anyone that I come across because I have nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm just comfortable and I have to pass a message to each and every person that I meet. Yeah.
And you also call yourself the queen of HIV.
Of course I am.
And you are a queen, by the way, you're looking so fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. So, for you are very positive, you're very confident. What about other people who are infected? Do we also have other people who are, courageous, or there are some who are still, kind of keeping it low-key?
Most people are still keeping it low-key because of stigma, given that we live in Africa. Sorry to say this, there's a lot of backward mentality in regards to matters pertaining HIV. So people tend to think it's something that you should be embarrassed about. It's shameful and you're going to die. So most people will not talk about it because they don't want to be stigmatized. So you will find that it's only us, the activists, who are public. And yes, we have so many public activists. Very people who you'd see and you'd not even believe it's them. And people like me, very healthy.
Beautiful skin,
living a positive life. Yeah, so we are there, but we are not many. The many people are living in silence because of stigma, because of the way the society perceives them. Yeah, and that's why we always insist on preaching and talking to people and allowing, letting people to know that they should allow us to live a comfortable life and they should embrace us. Yeah.
So you've mentioned stigma. Is it still there in its grand scale, or at least you're improving, comparing maybe to other previous years?
We still have issues with stigma. Funny enough, people would think because now people are more educated. No. For example, you'd see Tuko post my story and you see the comments from people. They think because I'm public and I'm calling myself a queen of HIV, they think that I've given up on life. They don't believe you can be like
you can just be confident about your status and enjoy life.
When you read those comments, if you're not strong-hearted, you're going to go down very fast. So stigma is real, it is still there. But again, as we continue to preach and talk to people and create awareness and sensitization, with time it will go, but it's still there. It is still there.
Wow.
Yes.
So as an activist, you've been able to interact, with different people. You have said that you also speak to people, you do counseling. So tell us about, your interactions with other people who have been infected. How has it been?
So normally my scope of work is I'm a counselor by profession, a HIV counselor, that is. So I am in support groups, and also because of sharing my work on social media, especially Facebook, which has a big following, you will find there are people who look at my story and they realize I can get strength from this girl.
Right.
And I'm giving up. So they come to my inbox, we walk together. There are people who have been exposed and they are scared to go and test, or they've tested but they've not accepted. So I normally walk with them to the clinic. I start the whole therapy, ART therapy, that is starting the ARVs. And in the groups I do counseling. I work with people who've even threatened, tried suicide more than 3 times. And once I'm done with them, they become strong. And that's what I do. Most of it is counseling and working with people. That's what gives me life. Yes.
And what is the majority of the people you handle? Are they young people, like 20s or 30s? Where can you categorize them?
I deal with, it's diverse, but maybe I should make it sound this way. Exposure is more on the teens.
My goodness,
from
teenagers,
that is from 16 years heading to 22, and then the married couples.
The married couples.
Yes, because you see, we have this new trend of side,
Mpango wa
you
kando,
know,
side chick.
So you see, one of the side, it could be the woman's side or the man's side. The person that's cheating with actually has other partners. So it's a chain. So they will never know who will infect them.
Yeah,
you see,
right.
And then with the teens, it's because the exposure, you know, like especially during COVID, there's been an increase of infection rate because people were at home.
Were at
The
home,
parents
they had
were
a
not
lot
there
of time.
to monitor their kids. We heard of sex party, orgies, and what have you.
It was so rampant.
Nobody's there to counsel these kids. During the day, they go out, meet friends, smoke weed, drink, do all those things. So you can imagine. And then there's this hype of sharing partners and what have you.
Yeah.
So that's where the inflation rate lies on. Yes.
And also that tells us that it seems as if youth nowadays have abandoned the uses of the usage of condoms. Or what have you found out? You know,
I think we need to sensitize the girl child because the blame. Sometimes I keep on telling people, you need to take responsibility of your sexuality. It is nobody else. It's not the man. It's you. They are so scared of getting pregnant, but they are not scared
more
of
than getting HIV. Right.
So they concentrate on getting pills, contraceptives, but they forget that there is HIV. And then we have this thing of when you look healthy, I tell them kupima na macho.
Kupima na macho.
You tend to think everybody's healthy. Shockingly, not everybody who looks healthy is healthy. You know, HIV has taken a different angle. People no longer look sickly, not unless they've neglected themselves. So you will not know. So they need to stop assuming when you look healthy, you're actually healthy. They need to take that initiative of testing before engaging themselves.
Right.
You know, in a sexual whatever's, you know. Yeah, people need to be very careful.
That's the misconception that, you know, young people have. As long as you look healthy, you have no scars, you have no marks, and you're perfectly okay.
You're good to go.
But then the other problem comes with in the sense that most of these young people, when they engage in those, you know, sex stuff, they do it maybe when they're drunk or in a party, so they don't even get to go measure their status. And sometimes they just do it with random partners. How do you think, how can we address this issue, especially with the young people?
The first thing we normally insist on is condomizing. Always have your CDs in your bag, or whether you're a lady or a man. But again, we need to drink responsibly. You don't want to drink carelessly and tomorrow you regret, you know. So we always emphasize on, you know, being, you protect yourself. You test. If you can't test, kindly use a condom. Drink responsibly, you know. And we also tell them, you know, they tend to think it's something funny until it happens. If it happens before 72 hours elapses and you tend to think that you're exposed, rush to a facility and you'll get something called post-exposure prophylaxis, whereby you take it for 28 days, but you have to take it before 72 hours elapses after exposure, so that at least it protects you after the 28 days. Then you're clean, you're good to go. But again, we can't keep on messing around. So it's all about being responsible sexually and, you know, control yourself, you know, just have good manners. It doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And are those drugs that you've mentioned, are they accessible in all hospitals or it's in government hospitals only?
They're accessible in government hospitals, level 5, level 4, level 3.
Are they given for free?
Yes, dispensaries. But also they're in private hospitals, depending. If you don't, you know, there are people who are scared to be seen asking for them. If you want to buy, you can go to a private facility, it's available. But they're not at the pharmacies. No, it has to be a hospital whereby they give them for free. If it's a government hospital, but if it's non-governmental, you can buy. Yeah.
You know, I was watching one of your interviews that you're doing, and you're speaking to a young man who is HIV positive, and he said that he was facing discrimination in the workplace. Like he will go for job interviews and they will not take him based on his status. So, you know, just expand a little bit on that discrimination that happens, you know, in the workplace or in work-related matters to people who are positive. Or was his case special, or it happens?
It happens, but his was kind of special because that is why you see I emphasize on people adhering to their medication. Like you take your medication daily and on time, and you don't default. So this guy was born with the virus.
Right.
And at one point, because they never told him, when he grew up in school, they kept on telling him, you're not sick. as in what you think. It's not TB or it's not typhoid. It's actually HIV. So
He was told.
Yes, by
Okay.
the
The
guys
parents.
in school. So he got so pissed off and he decided to stop taking his meds for 3 years. He was in a coma. So what happens when you default, the virus mutates to something very strong. So when it comes back, it hits you. So he got a permanent skin disease, and it's very visible. So anytime, because he's in the hospitality industry, anytime he wants to go for an interview, the first thing that they see is his
Is the
face.
face.
So it cuts him from getting a job. So it's been so bad, but thank God, through me airing his story, he got people who supported him.
Wow, wonderful.
And he's doing well right now.
Wonderful.
Yes. So again, stigma is there. You will find there places the moment they know that you're HIV positive, they will not give you a job. You can even, by like the Arab countries, you can't go when you're HIV positive. It's only in Dubai. But Saudi, you can't go. So discrimination is still there because of the HIV status. But there are other people who are now embracing people living with HIV. So it depends with an individual and
the
how
employer.
and the employer and how they understand HIV/AIDS. Yeah. So I also don't blame them. It will take time before they learn, because I was in that position at one point. So it's all about learning and getting to know. Yeah.
Now, maybe for the sake of our audience, you can just give us a little background of your story, how you came to learn of your status, because I believe it's a journey. Yeah.
I'm a former hotelier by profession. So I used to run resorts in South Sudan. So there was a time-
Results. Okay.
So there's a time it was different resorts under one company. So it's just a matter of going in shifts and what have you. So around 2018, I got so sick. I lost a lot of weight. Though I was going through some stress, a different kind of stress in my life. And HIV and stress, they don't get along. And I was drinking a lot.
Wow.
So you can imagine you're stressed, you're sick and you don't know, and you're taking a lot of alcohol.
It just
So
worsens the
I
condition.
lost massive weight, totally. And then my hair started falling off. And then I could have malaria on and off. So towards the end of the year, I realized something was not okay. So when I came back to Kenya, I stayed throughout. So by December, I was totally down. I'd lost weight completely.
Wow.
I was so sick. I couldn't eat, a persistent running stomach, no appetite, hair loss, all the opportunistic infections. So I realized clearly there's something. So the first thing you do, you Google.
Yeah, you Google the symptoms and
Exactly.
Google will always present you. with
So it told me it's
suggestions.
either cancer or HIV.
Wow.
So the good thing is we've had activists before us. So I had followed them before. So I just told myself, if it's HIV/AIDS, at least I'll get to live. If it's cancer, I am dying. So
Cancer is
being
quite
this strong
terrible.
person that I am, I just took myself to the hospital.
You
It
took
was-
yourself?
Yes. It was
How were you
January
feeling when you were
16.
going? Were you scared? How were you feeling?
Given the fact that I love myself so much, I wouldn't want to see myself down to a point people are taking care of me, bathing me, feeding me. I'm not that kind of a person. So I prepared my mind and I told myself, whatever it is, at least when I know, I will know how to handle it. So that is the reason I went to the hospital. I tested on January 16. Yeah, I accepted from that day until today. And I took my medication from day one.
Now, tell us a little bit about that part. Now you have gone, you have tested, the results have come. How did you respond to the news?
Okay, given the fact that I took myself there for that specific test, it had taken me a month or so to do some, preparing my mind and what have you. So I knew, and again, through Google, I knew I was fighting two things, two major things. So in my mind, I think I was so scared of dying of cancer because at that point I was very low. But I was not scared of HIV given the fact there is medication and people are living.
Right.
And I've seen people, given that I have a bubbly personality, I engage people so much. So at least I had some knowledge. And then, we've had some people in the extended family, so I've seen them living, So, okay, fine. That day, it was 50-50. I went with my sister. But now that she got shocked more, I had to first encourage her.
Wow.
And I'm the sick one here.
What?
Yeah, and then
You're
think
strong.
the breaking point was that night.
After now the hospital
Yes,
visit.
yes. My sister was like, you can't go home alone. I went with her. That's when it dawned, like, now I'm starting another chapter. So my worry was not even taking the medication. My worry is, what if it doesn't work and then I die?
Or what if the medication doesn't work and then you lose
Exactly.
your
So
life?
that was my biggest worry. So I just cried to God and I told him, just give me the strength to overcome. And that was it. The first few months, it wasn't easy. easy because there's a time I went to the salon and I was telling now my salonist, remember I told you my hair was falling off. Actually, it's because of ABC. Within an hour, everybody was calling me from my area, like, so
Wow.
it's true, you're like that. So I was scared, like, going to the supermarket.
Oh, so the story spread. Wow.
I was scared of going anywhere because I'm like, everybody's just looking at me like, hey, you
This
know?
chick.
Exactly. But so that is one of the reasons I decided to own my story and become public. You know, sometimes when you own your story, nobody has anything on you. Like, they can't even go see.
Yeah, because you're out there and you're saying it
Like,
publicly.
she talks about it, so
Right.
it's actually not a big deal. So that is the reason I owned my story, and up to date, I'm just living positively. Yes, I get negative remarks and comments, but I care less. It's about me and the people who follow me and the people who get a positive impact with what I do.
So how did that news impact, the people closest to you, maybe your relatives or even close friends? Did they stay with you or did they desert you?
I lost some, I gained some. With my parents, they didn't know I had to hide myself, being a firstborn, and they depend on me so much, and my strength and stuff. I had to just go underground. My sisters knew. They walked with me with my sister's husband, but then after 1 year, when I did the interview with Diana Cage, it's when I showed them.
After 1 year?
Yes, because this is why I did that. They would feel so bad to see me at my lowest, but to see where I've come from and where I am would actually change their mindset. So it actually helped. Today they are my #1 supporters. They'll even ask me today, which channel, where can we watch on YouTube? Yes, they are my #1 support. They support me totally. You'll even, they'll find them, even my sister's kids, when my alarm rings, they're like, Auntie Sayadawa imefika.
Wow, like everyone is out there watching for you and encouraging
But I
you.
realized it's all about the strength that that comes out of you. If you're in fear, you instill fear in others. But if you're courageous, they also get that courage and they move on with you. So you reflect, you reflect what you're in the inside.
All right, you've mentioned inner strength, and I think that is something which many people who have just been infected struggle to find. So what was your journey like to finding that strength from within?
I think my strength is not HIV related. I'm a person who's born with a very strong strong personality. Like nothing puts me down. And the time I'm stressed today, by tomorrow it never happened. So I think because of that
you move on easily also.
Yes, that inborn thing, the character in me is what helped me. So, and I've gone through so much in life. I had a tumor on my left side for 16 years.
What?
I've had 3 major surgeries on my head.
What?
So if you've gone through that, there's nothing, So this
It's like there were preparations for others to come, so you are able to face it with more courage.
I tend to think sometimes you find things are painful, but in the future you realize God was actually preparing
Exactly.
for
That
something.
is the thing.
So for me, because naturally I'm strong, that's why I was able just to pick and I keep on telling people, if you're given lemons, make lemonade out of them.
lemonade.
Always look at the positive side of life. Don't dwell on the negative. Don't listen to people. Look at what you do and what it reflects on the outside. That's what matters. Yeah.
Now, after you picked yourself up, you restored your body and everything else, and I see you do so many things. You have many activities here and there. Can you tell us how, after finding out your status, living positively, how it has impacted your life to the better compared to pre-HIV days? How is it like?
It has changed me a lot. I'm always honest with myself and with the public. I used to be this arrogant kind of a person, but it made me appreciate humanity. When you see yourself to the level of death, and then you come back, you actually appreciate humanity. You start seeing things from a very different perspective. So for that first, it changed. And then the fact that I always want to change somebody's life. The fact that I meet somebody who's brought to me who has committed suicide thrice, or they've totally refused to take their meds, and I walk with them and one time I see them, they're doing good. That gives me the satisfaction.
Right.
So the fact that for once in my life, I'm changing people's life.
Wow.
I am doing something good, unlike before. So clearly, it has changed my life for the best.
And that means that it has even helped you to fulfill, your purpose or live a more purposeful life.
Exactly. Yes, I'm fulfilling. I keep on telling people mine was a blessing in disguise. Sometimes they think I'm mad, those who don't understand it, but it's a ministry of saving souls through God. Yes.
Because now through you are able to reach out to more and more are able to come to you and find healing. Well, that's super amazing. I really love your story. And I love how you live positively and confidently.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know, you are even the guest for this show, Limitless. And Limitless, you know, we encourage people to live their life without limits. So maybe can you just, you know, advise a young person out there who has just discovered that they are HIV infected, they don't know how to face their parents, they are probably thinking that they will die, because that's what comes, you know, on people's mind first. Oh my goodness, I think I will die.
Yeah.
How do I start this journey? And maybe you can also tell us a little bit about the taking of drugs. Is it cumbersome as people think? Like
It
you
is
have
not
to take.
cumbersome at all. So first, let me tell you this. People need to understand there's a difference between HIV and AIDS. By the time I was diagnosed, I was living with AIDS that kills.
AIDS itself, the
Yes,
full-blown AIDS.
yes, but now I'm living with the virus. What happens is when you get infected, you get infected by the virus. But when you don't detect it earlier, it puts your immunity down to zero, to a point to get other opportunistic infections, which is AIDS. So the moment you start taking your medication, you go back to HIV. HIV doesn't kill, but AIDS kills. You can avoid yourself, you can avoid dying by actually testing earlier. And if you test, you adhere to your medication, you go back to the HIV stage and you live a long life. In our WhatsApp group, I have somebody who's 34 years, born with HIV, and they have 2 children who are very negative. If somebody was living with cancer, diabetes, or high blood pressure, they wouldn't live that long. So that clearly shows people that HIV doesn't kill.
Yeah.
It's only AIDS.
It's
And
AIDS.
with AIDS stage, it's either you're reckless, careless, or you are not aware. But you need to accept acceptance, self-acceptance, forgiveness, and self-love is everything. Don't think about who infected me, who did this to me. No. Look at yourself, work on yourself, eat well, and what have you. When you're talking about the drugs, there is another misconception. Because when it started, there were no drugs, ARVs. So what they were treating was the opportunistic infection. So people are taking so many drugs. But see, now we have a combination of everything. So actually take one pill.
Oh, one pill? Per
I
day?
actually have
In a
it.
day?
One
Just
pill.
one?
Just
Wow,
one pill.
that's
And now because of COVID, we take Septrin, which is a very strong antibiotic, so to guard our immunity more. But it's only one pill a day. One pill. What you're supposed to do, it suppresses the virus for 24 hours. And you have to adhere at the right time. I normally take mine at 9. So you'll find my alarm will ring at 8:58. It has to alert me it's time to take your meds.
So wherever you are at that particular
Even
time,
if it's in church, you have to take it, you have to
take
adhere. Because what happens, if you want to suppress the virus, you have to suppress it after every 24 hours. So if you take it at 9, you have to take it tomorrow at 9. That is what we call adherence. So when you continue to adhere continuously, you reach a point where it's called you're undetectable. You cannot actually I cannot transmit the virus right now. What happens is the virus becomes dormant because you are feared. So when it's dormant, it's not active. So it cannot even be
it cannot even be detected.
When they are checking your viral copies, it's not detected.
Wow.
It's at 0, but it's in your system, so you cannot actually transmit it. So people need to understand there's a lot that they don't know about HIV. So people just need to accept themselves, they need to love themselves, they need to be sexually responsible and test. They don't need to be careless. I could be strong, but you can't be strong. Not all of us were made to be strong. And then, you know, the people around you could actually affect how you respond to the drugs, because HIV and stress don't get along. However much you're taking your medication. Mafuta. You know, watu hawajuangi, unaweza kunywa dawa even for 10 years. Na kama hujajikubali ama uko na stress too, your weight will be stagnant there. But the moment you accept, you bounce back. And eating healthy. Eating healthy, you don't have to have a lot of money. Just do proteins, veggies, or, you know, garlic, carbohydrates, fruits, and you're good to go. It's the most manageable condition. Other than any, and you know, our drugs are free. So like, what else do you even need? And then something else that people don't know, while you think you're going to die, you start infecting others, you're infecting yourself with other infections.
Actually, you've mentioned a very important point that I wanted to raise up. Well, you find someone has been infected.
Yes.
So kwa ajili ya hiyo machungu is like, ha, mimi,
Siku
I'll not
peke
die
yangu.
alone, lazima, revenge mission.
Yeah.
How does one overcome that and let go of those bitterness and just live free?
That is, this is because of the misconception, AIDS kills. They don't know they actually can live with HIV and not AIDS. So the moment they get it, they know I'm on my way to death. So they were like, mimi sikuletewa, siniletewa, so hata mimi nitaletea mtu mwingine. So not knowing that you can live with it for so long, you start going to spread. This person who's very comfortable not using protection, they also don't know their status, or some even know. So they could be infected. So when that you get a new strain, it catches the other strain, it mutates, and your medication doesn't work.
Wow.
So you fail, you realize you'll go even to line 2 where you take 6 to 8 meds in a day because the virus has become so strong. So sometimes people need to know that you're not actually killing others, you're literally killing yourself very fast. And that is brought by bitterness. But don't be bitter. Just accept. Forgiveness is everything. That is why I'm here today. Because I forgave whoever did this to me. I forgave myself for being careless. I mean, we have to call a spade a spade. Because my scenario ni ile ya kupima na
I like
macho.
what umejisema too. Like, I forgive myself for doing this. Kuna mwenye ako like, hakuna vile, no, ni yule.
No,
putting the blame on someone else.
I own my story, and this is why I want people to learn from me. If I didn't pima na macho, I wouldn't be here. But again, I'm here now. So people need to learn from our stories. Don't pima na macho. Take responsibility of your sexuality. And you'll be good. And it's free. And a visit ni free kupimwa. What else do people want?
Sasa now the courage ya kwenda visiting.
I work with them, I tell them every time. They come to my, like the day before yesterday, I normally go to her LVCT Hurlingham. I take people there, even 3 people in a day. I don't mind.
So if
I don't ask for
if someone maybe who is watching, maybe they're infected, or no, maybe they want to know their status and they're afraid of going alone, they can contact you.
Or they know their status, but they're afraid to start the medication.
Yes.
They can contact me. I don't charge, I don't do anything. My work is just to work with them.
All right. Yeah. We'll be able to share her handles briefly. But before that, one last thing. So what do you say to that person who's just discovered I'm HIV and my world has ended? What do you tell them?
There is life after testing. There is life. I'm approved. I and people like Doreen, people like Pasima, Trevor, Rawinji, people like Levinol, Sam Gidega, we are so many. We are a testimony that you can actually live with HIV and it's a manageable condition. So they should not stigmatize themselves and think it's the end. It's actually the beginning of a new beautiful chapter. You just, and the good thing about when you test, there's a way you start appreciating yourself, you know. Just accept, move on. If you feel your circle is not supportive, kindly get out of that circle. Look for people for support system. In the hospital where you get your medication, there are support groups. In Facebook, there are groups. You can just look for support. Don't walk on your own. Look for support because you need people to work with you. Don't disclose to people that you're not sure. Because the first people who can stigmatize you are actually family. I have a scenario whereby right now the child is being given a different cup at this era.
At this era, like come on, people should know that this by now. You can do these things through sharing of utensils.
People do these things. So when you test positive, kindly look for support groups, support system. Don't share with anyone that you don't know. By the end of the day, is acceptance, self-love, self-acceptance. That's it. It is as easy as that. However much it sounds hard, it is as easy as that.
Self-love and self-acceptance.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so maybe for the benefit of someone who wants to reach out to you, or just consult with you concerning this matter, how can they reach out to you?
So I have a WhatsApp number. I prefer WhatsApp, not calls.
Okay.
Because you find if mafisi ni wengi bado tu kunje. When you tell them to call, they start calling you, telling you a lot of
different
things.
stories.
Yes. So I use WhatsApp number 0722 250 644. 0722 250 644. And then on Facebook it's Wairimu Nyarasembo Meta. Wairimu Nyarasembo Meta.
Wairimu Nyarasembo
Meta. If you know, you know. And then on Instagram that is Susan Meta. And then on YouTube Susan Wairimu Meta. They can just get me. I work with people. That is my job. That's my purpose. Yes.
Wow, this has been so interesting. Thank you so much, for giving your contribution, being vulnerable with us and sharing your story. And there's a lot that we have learned from you. And I believe our viewer at home has also been able to learn something from Susan's story. I mean, what do you say of her? She's very inspirational, and I believe you feel even challenged to live a more purposeful, intentional, and happy life, positive vibes only, without limiting yourself or living according to people's perceptions or expectations of you. So that has been the episode for today. Thank you so much for joining, for being with us all this time. I've been your host, Zipporah Umile. Tupatane siku nyingine. But just before we wind up, I'd like to acknowledge Amadiva Closet. This is a clothing store that has dressed this beautiful green, glittering dress. So if you're interested to get this dress and other beautiful dresses, visit their store, Amadiva Closet, located at Tomboyo Street at Star Mall, room number M5. So we call it a wrap. Bye bye.